In the Battle of Iraq, the United States and our allies have prevailed.
The banner behind the president declaring mission accomplished, despite the fact that we were just 6 weeks into the Iraq War, a war which even 6 years after the mission accomplished speech was still very well underway. But if you leave aside the whole mission accomplished thing for a second, there's one really striking element of the visual from this photo op that I've always wanted to have explained. What's with the colored shirts? Doesn't really look like a normal uniform. What is that all about? And that is a question for which there is an answer, a totally fascinating answer. We flew out to the amphibious assault ship, the USS Iwo Jima, yesterday to get that answer, and I didn't wear this. But I understand the desire to. That story coming right up. Mission accomplished.
Very interesting.
If you live in New York, San Diego, San Francisco, Fort Lauderdale, or Seattle, or if you have ever seen Sex and the City, you might already be a fan of Fleet Week. Fleet Week is when the Navy pulls into port and shows off some of its ships to the public. They let the public board and tour the ships and learn what they do. And we civilians, in turn, welcome service members from the Navy and the Marines and the Coast Guard to explore our cities. Also, we sometimes buy them drinks, and we sometimes hit on them. At least that's how it works on Sex and the City, I hear. Anyway, here in New York, I can definitely say that Fleet Week is something that New Yorkers look forward to every year. And Fleet Week in New York started today. For Geek Week, we decided to take advantage of the presence of all these big naval vessels to answer a nagging systems analysis geek question. What kind of big brain choreography and systems planning does it take to get aircraft to safely take off, land, refuel, and sometimes get serious weaponry loaded, unloaded, and checked on the very confined space of a flight deck in deafening conditions while moving on the sea with jet thrust and rotor wash that can flatten you with all sorts of soft, squishy humans in very close proximity to these big moving metal spinning rotor blades and aircraft? Systems-wise, how do they make that work? So yesterday, as the amphibious assault ship, the USS Iwo Jima, was making its way to New York City for Fleet Week, I got on board a Seahawk helicopter to find out.
I've never been on a helicopter before, and I've definitely never been on a giant, awesome military helicopter like this before. We're taking off. I'm very excited. We're going to check out how the Iwo Jima coordinates all of the stuff that they coordinate on board their landing deck without anybody hitting each other. Woo-hoo!
So the USS Iwo Jima is an amphibious assault ship. There are both sailors and Marines on board. When it's fully staffed, there's about 3,000 people on board this ship. It's essentially a smaller scale aircraft carrier. You don't have the giant catapult system that you've seen like on Top Gun with the full-scale aircraft carrier. Essentially, the aircraft that use a ship like this as a home base are mostly helicopters. They call them helos on board here. And in some cases, aircraft that require a short runway for takeoff and landing, things like Harriers. So we're on a small-scale aircraft carrier. They've got a huge flight deck. What we're on right now is the hangar deck. And essentially what we're interested in here for Geek Week is how they avoid total disaster in doing the normal thing that they do every day. If you think about it, you've got jet wash, you've got rotor wash, you've got an incredible number of aircraft all taking off and landing, refueling in a wartime or an exercises context, actually dealing with ordnance, actually dealing with weapons going on and off those aircraft and being checked. All of this stuff happening on a single deck with no room for error and a lot of soft, squishy humans right in the middle of all of these very fast spinning rotor blades. How do they do the choreography, the systems planning here so that they get done what they need to get done and nobody gets hurt? In part, it's color coding. I'm not kidding. Can I ask you what the yellow means?
Yellow means I'm an aircraft director, which means we handle all aircraft, landing, launch, and recovering, all aircraft aboard the USS Iwo Jima.
But how do you communicate to
visual hand signals.
Okay.
Hand signals.
Can you show me one and explain what it means?
Yes, ma'am. Like, I have command. I have patrol.
What does white mean on the flight deck?
White means strictly medical or safety. In my case, I wear a Red Cross, which stands for medical, so I'm the only person up there for flight deck standby in case anything happens.
Bring them forward. It's coming in.
So you're wearing a brown shirt. When I see you out on the flight deck in a brown shirt, what does that signify? What does that mean?
We deal with everything from servicing engines to checking all of our servicing, from engines, TGB, IGB, main gearbox, anything that turns or requires any movement in the aircraft, I have to check.
AM3, what does that mean?
Aviation instructional mechanic.
Aviation instruction mechanic. I have a feeling that means you fix things.
Yes.
When he comes in, tell him to hover.
What does purple mean?
Oh, purple is aviation fuels. We work in gasoline, basically, and we fuel the aircrafts. That's on the flight deck. We fuel the ship.
I was feeling really smart, and I felt like purple was the one thing I had figured out from watching choppers land on and off the deck. I thought, oh, those guys fuel the aircraft. I had no idea that you also fuel the ship.
Yes. Land. Let the man mount touch the deck. Let them know they're landed.
Yeah.
Tell them to hold position.
What does red mean?
Well, red with a black stripe is ordnance.
And ordnance to people in the civilian world means?
Bombs and missiles and ammunition.
Stuff that blows up.
Yes.
Now, I see you wearing a red vest and a red shirt, but you don't have a stripe down the front of it.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Well, I'm an aviation bosun mate, and I'm a crash and salvage.
Oh.
So I'm an aircraft firefighter.
Is there any tension between the fact that the red people with the stripes are to blow things up and the red people without the stripes are to stop things from blowing up?
No, it's not.
No? Y'all get along?
From there, we'll tell our blue shirts, taking our blue shirts in, chalk, chain.
And those are the guys in the blue shirts.
Yes, ma'am.
And they come in and they chalk the wheels, tie them down.
Yes, ma'am.
Insert chalk and chain.
And that's the signal for you to get in there and get to work.
Yes. And then the signal to take them out is take chalks out and take chains off.
All right. Chains off as if they're on your arms.
Yes, take them off.
That's deep. We're trying to understand, in layman's terms, how the flight deck doesn't look like a fish-o-matic. How you're able to put all those soft humans running around with a lot of important jobs to do with all of those machines and rotor blades and keep everybody safe. What sort of systems planning goes into figuring out how to keep everybody doing their job and not in trouble?
Well, the first thing you do is you minimize the number of people you have on the deck, so no one extraneous is up there. We identify who's doing what by our color-coded jerseys. Different functions have a different color jersey, and that helps us separate who's who on the flight deck. I know that it's a yellow shirt, they're directing an aircraft. They're either landing it because that's their function, or they're moving it with a tow tractor. I've got blue shirts who handle all the chalking and chaining. Once an aircraft lands, they run out and they install chocks and they chain it down to keep it safe. I've got red shirts who are our crash and salvage personnel. So if an aircraft were to crash, they're the instant firefighting response. They've got firefighting trucks up there, and they come in and execute a rescue and put the fire out. I've got white jerseys. They're all my safeties, quality assurance. Brown and green jerseys are from the squadron, and they'll go in and maintain and fix the aircraft. Purple jerseys, we call them grapes. They refuel all the aircraft. So just by looking, you can tell who's doing what out there. Now, if somebody doesn't have one of those jerseys on, they're probably not supposed to be there, and it's pretty easy to separate that way. So
that is exactly what I came here today to figure out, and you just made it all make sense. So
very good.
That's, I'm sure, the very smallest accomplishment in your big day, but I thank you for that and for your time, sir. Thank you very much. Really
Thanks for
appreciate
visiting.
it.
Happy Geek Week!
Hey, Geek Week is far from over. We have a couple of most excellent Geek Week features planned for tomorrow's show. We even decided to fold Kent Jones into the Geektivities by sending him to Johnson City, Tennessee, in search of... I'll let him show you, actually.
Hi, Rachel. Geek Week continues. I'm here at East Tennessee State University, and tomorrow I'm going to introduce you to this.
Yes. There's also more behind-the-scenes footage of our trip to the USS Iwo Jima that is posted right now at maddowblog.msnbc.com. It includes an explanation of what makes the Iwo Jima an amphibious ship. It's very neat. That does it for us tonight. Countdown with Keith Olbermann starts right now.